chala hai. Now does it ring a bell? I'm sure this must have risen a lot of memories for you. These beautiful lines written by Gulzar Sahab is from the iconic serial Jungle Book. The story, the fabulous story of Jungle Book by Rudyard Kipling was written for the forest of Pench Tiger Reserve. Pench Tiger Reserve is not just famous for the tigers, just like Sher Khan, but it is also possibly very famous for the Gondi tribe, the largest tribal community of India that resides in and around the jungles of Madhya Pradesh. Very beautifully, why did I speak about the Gondi tribe? Why did I speak about this Jungle Book? Because while entering, I saw two beautiful elephants painted in Gond artwork. The Gond artwork almost represents the jungles of Madhya Pradesh, the tigers, the forests, the communities, and the people. So just like your childhood, my childhood was also full of narrations, the beautiful stories by the fabulous writers and the poets of this country. I have almost read Bankim Chandra, Munshi Premchand, Ramdhari Singh Dinkar, Sumitra Nandan Pant, and my grandfather, Yagidat Sharma. These narrations, these stories, created a dreamy world. They were always buzzing in my ears. And these narrations would create an utopian world in front of my eyes. The world that was completely based on the principles of cultural values, traditional outputs, but at the same time, it had a fear whether the young dynamic generation would take it forward, would take it on its strong shoulders for the next many generations to see. So I was not wrong because I was a part of that young dynamic generation. These stories were always wrapped around our traditions for many years in the form of beautiful alta on our palms, in the form of kolam on the floors, in the form of torans that decorated our walls and our doors. I always remember that food also played a very important role. Food wrapped around these traditions, food which is a part of our lunchbox, made by our mothers and grandmothers. I remember my grandmother breaking the uncooked vermicelli on the terrace very often now and then. She would making pickles, papadums, and the lovely kanji vada on the mornings of winters. These beautiful foods took me into the memory lane. So when I grew up, I wanted to rewrite the script. I wanted to rewrite the script in the language I had learned. Coming from a design background, it was very important that I chose something tangible. So what did I choose? I chose Indian crafts. I chose the stories of the traditional artisans of this country. These stories which would almost speak that why there was so much rural to urban migration. These stories that would tell us that where did we fail? What did we lose? Why these artisans had to quit the long practices of the decades and then end up becoming daily wage labor. In 2020-21, nearly 35%, almost one-third of the urban population was reported to have migrated from nearby areas. Well, the same number for the rural India led to somewhere 27%. The very reason of this migration I could see were the four major factors. The first being economic propositions maybe, that people were getting better income in the coming towns, in the cities nearby. The second being the lack of opportunities. There was so much loss of skill sets. There was so much loss of cultural importance. There was so much loss of job opportunities. Hence, people were moving and people were migrating. One very interesting factor that I saw was a social factor, which was marriage and the childbirth, for which people were migrating. But the elitist of all was the living standards. People wanted to move for better health care and education. So today here, standing in front of you, I am talking about the 2030 agenda of sustainable development that leads to the sustainable employment, the job opportunities, the very importantly decent work opportunities for people, and promoting continuous work for the people around us. So this agenda, which was completely targeting SDG 8, had to work in sync with what we were aiming. Your vision cannot be just a dream. Your vision has to be something that completely targets the global norms, the global requirements. I will take you a little back in my story. In 2005 and 2006, when I traveled to the villages in Orissa and Gujarat, I found excessive artwork supplies. Absolutely no class quality artifacts. So much of the work, so much of production that I almost lost interest. I was thinking that why people are creating this and what is the purpose? Sumesh and me started Craft Village as an artisan community. A community where people could come and stay and create the work which is of cultural relevance and earn at the same time. We also helped them in their virtual presentations. We guided our artisans so that they could further guide and train urban population for learning these cultural values, for learning the traditional artworks. In this process, Craft Village somewhere completed 10 years. And those 10 years, the aim of Craft Village was very clear, that we had to preserve the traditional art forms, we had to revive the lost skill set, we had to promote the sustainable living, we had to help them create the products that were meaningful and get them an earning. We also had to stop the migration from rural India to urban India. And at last, we had to provide a sustainable development in this entire process to the nation. So basically, in this entire process of building Craft Village, 2018, we founded India Craft Week. India Craft Week was an event, was a platform that was completely founded on the grounds of creating a combination of culture and commerce working hand in hand. It was a platform that was completely designed keeping in mind what our artisans were not getting in traditional hearts and bazaars. You must have visited many hearts and bazaars where the bargains, low quality products, artificial influence, cheap quality has completely made these craft products undesirable. So we founded something where we connected our thousands of artisans with the industry. We helped them revive hundreds of years old techniques. We also connected them to the live audience where they could do the business themselves. In the 5 editions, our artisans done millions of dollars. During COVID also, we were the first one to do an event in the country. In partnership with British Council, we did event at 2 locations at the same time. It was a news that why we are taking such a risk. The risk was very, very needed. It was for our artisans. It was for our artisanal community, people to whom the aids were not reaching in the villages. The idea was that while we were doing this, we had to bring their stories out. At Craft Village and India Craft Week, our main purpose was always to speak about our artisan, to speak the little stories that were making them what they were. You all must have heard of Madhubani painting. You must have heard of Fulkari embroidery. You must have heard of Kanjivaram saris. But how many of you know about Ganjifa art? How many of you know about a cover? How many of you know about the Rogan art? So this is where the divide happens. This is the bridge that we were building. We were building a bridge which would eliminate all the gaps, which would bring the lost art forms in the front, which would excite our young generation to know about traditional art forms. It is very common to know about Michelangelo and Vinci, but how many of you know about Padma Shri Gurappa Chetty? How many of you would know about miniature artist Shakir Ali? I think you must have not heard these names, because most of the time the traditional art forms were never glamorized. We took this responsibility on our shoulder. We decided that these artists are equally hardworking, equally talented, and they deserve their own place. For this, I traveled from Kashmir to Kanyakumari. I went from Odisha to Kutch. I sat with everybody, all the artisans in the villages. I spoke to them. I heard their stories. And you know what I found? That the artisan community is not like individual artists. Artisan community, when they sell something, it is for the whole community. An artisan can never work in isolation. An artisan has to work hand in hand with everyone. That is why when an artisan earns something, it does not go into his pocket. It goes into the piggy bank of the whole family and sometimes the whole village. So, to tell their stories, I had to author my first book, India, Good Stories Untold. This book completely comprises the stories, the foods, the fabric, textile, weather, festivals, women, people, children, temple, architecture, almost everything that this country, this beautiful country holds. In that process, also, by developing, we founded International Craft Awards because somewhere we realized that these artisans needed recognition too. At International Craft Awards, nearly more than 40 nations have today participated. The royalties, government, normal artists, institutions, NGOs, everybody has joined together on a common platform and earned their country a reward. This is our way of giving back to the nation. This is our way of giving back to the world. That what we have created at India Craft Week and International Craft Awards, we want to return it back to the community, to the global community. Today, at Craft Village, when we have nearly completed 10 years, our mission, our vision, our ideas are very clear. That we have to bring the culture in front, and this marriage between the culture and commerce has to be sustainable, has to be visible, has to be so strong that today when I stand with my artisan and speak about them, we tell the story of this fabulous nation called Bharat. Thank you.